Coach Mike, thank you very much for your time. We usually meet on the field. Today we are at the airport. Are you good, my brother?
Very good, very good. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. My brother, the under-9s and the under-13s of Supersport soccer schools from various schools have just left. They are off to Portugal. Can you please tell us more about the trip?
Yeah, it's a very exciting trip for the kids. The boys will be going there for 10 days and they'll be playing 2 tournaments. The first one is going to take place next week and the second one is going to take place on the beginning of July. The first tournament obviously is going to take place in another province. The next one is the Cristiano Ronaldo tournament, which is the main tournament that they're going there for. So it's very exciting for the kids. It was so good to see kids smiling at the airport, looking forward to leave. Yeah.
Coach, I know it's not the first time that Supersport kids are going overseas. They've been to Spain a couple of times in the tournament in Spain. How do you get invited, or you form the relationship with teams overseas? How do this trip come about?
This trip is the matter of connection with the other teams, and then obviously they understand our job that we're doing at the soccer school at the development level. So that's where we get a lot of recognition because of the job that we're doing at the grassroots level. That actually give us the opportunity to compete with the best and the rest. And it's something that comes with a lot of hard work from the coaches. Our recognition comes from the job that we're doing at the grassroots level. That's why we see most of the kids are invited to actually play in this biggest tournament.
Coach, we're talking about under-9s here. These are kids who are like 8, 7. How important for them to be able to get exposed to different playing styles, different environments at such a young age?
I think this is the most important time for the young kids to actually to be exposed to different tournaments, more importantly overseas tournaments, because overseas tournaments give kids the right idea, and it also gives us as the coaches to see what we need to work on and where can we improve, and then what are we doing right. So if these kids are exposed to this tournament, it also exposes them at the earliest age to say this is the right pathway for the kids. Now they're playing with the team that are exposed to the highest level, because the nice thing about this kind of tournaments, they'll be playing against Manchester City, the biggest academy in the world. Because if you look at those guys that are playing for the biggest academy, they end up playing at the highest level. So our kids will be rubbing shoulders with the kids that they stand a chance to play at the highest level. That will give the kids the confidence. It also tests the ability of the coaches as well to see how far are we as coaches, are we actually doing the right thing? And it also gives our coaches the opportunity to learn from the best academies in the world. So it's a bonus for the boys, it's a bonus for the coaches, it benefits the country, because whatever is going to happen there, when these kids are coming back, they will actually give the other kids the idea of what's happening, and then it's a lot of motivation for these young boys and for the guys that are in that remain in the country. It's going to help them to actually improve after what they saw from the other boys.
Coach Mike, talking about referencing these big academies and what they do, we often see that in the English Premier League, for example, you look at Chelsea, you'll see Mason Mount, you'll see Reece James, you go to Manchester City, there's Foden and so on. As much as these big teams recruit players from other teams, buy big players, there's always players coming out from their development teams. And in South Africa, it doesn't always happen that you find a boy who started with a team at under 13 level or under 9 and went all the way up to the senior team. How important are trips like this to ensuring that maybe you close the gap and maybe see more of the kids? A kid who can say, I started with Supersport under 9 and went all the way up to the senior team.
I think the most important thing on that note is that we also have to believe in our development and make sure that we follow the right procedures as coaches, and we make sure that we do what is right for the development, not what is right, not pushing the results by all costs. If we form the right foundation from the development phase, and then make sure that we get the right coaches with the right coaching methodology, and then with coaches that truly believe in the development of the kids more than anything else, that will give us the opportunity to make sure that these kids at the early age, they are well taught, they are exposed to such trip. That gives them the right amount of understanding on how to actually be ready at the age of 16. It also comes back to the development, how how hungry are we? How much do we believe? Do we actually believe in the process? Are we teaching the kids the right thing so that when they get to the age of 17, 15, they're ready to actually be able to play for a DTC, to play for our first team? It comes back to the education, the kind of exposure that we currently giving to these young ones to say, hey, this is how it should be done, and then if we do it like this and we keep giving them this tip frequently, that is going to give us the opportunity to actually be able to see our kids playing at Supersport United first team, and other teams out there.
Coach, like you said, it's not the first time Supersport kids are going overseas. They went to Spain, they impressed, they were invited back again. They even won one of the tournaments there in Spain last year. You've been there, you've seen it. How much of the gap between us, what we are doing here, and what they are doing in Europe?
To be honest, the gap is not that big. With us coming from the Supersport United Soccer School background, tactically we are actually not far from them. Technically we are doing exceptionally well. Our kids are technically very proficient. You can see that we are far ahead on the technical ability. The only thing that is actually missing in our development football is tactical attributes. We are lacking a lot, because if you look at the players overseas, they look more superior on the tactical side of the game. They understand what to do. When we were exposed to the Spain tournament, you could see that we were matching them in all the aspects. The only aspect that they were more superior than us, which the gap is not that big. It's the tactical part of the game. They understand what to do. If we're behaving like this, they can quickly identify and be able to come up with solutions, which is something that we're working long and hard with our soccer school, and we're working long and hard with our teams, with our young boys, to say we have to balance tactical and tactical work to make sure that we can compete with the best and the rest.
Coach, like you said, these young boys, they've been there before. Sort of, there's not much of a gap. Recently, we saw the Mamelodi Sundowns kids beating Manchester City by 2-0.
Yes.
So at this age group, we're talking about 13, 14 and lower, there's not much of a gap. What then happens as they grow up? Because then you start to see Abu Gavi at 17 and 18 making their debut for Barcelona, whereas on our side, it's a rare occurrence.
I think that also comes with how we prepare them at the early age, especially when they get to the age of 15. That's where competitions start to be a bit different. And you see a lot of kids now and a lot of coaches, they're more about grinding the results, which I don't have a problem. The results are very important, but they must always be a mixture of both. We must be able to understand the information that we're giving the kids. The education is very key, because you find most of the players, they get exposed to the first team of any club, but the first team coaches will tell you that the boy is not ready. What is it lacking? Is the tactical work, the technical work, the stage fright, mentally is not ready, physically is not ready to compete. And if you look at those things, those things are led by the issue of winning by all costs, which the moment kids start to win by all costs, they forget a lot of details in between, which is to understand how to win. Because if they understand how to win, it's very easy for them to be able to compete at the highest level. It's very easy for them to get to their first team and still compete, because when you get there, the coaches always have a plan. And if you cannot execute the plan of the coach, how do you understand to execute the plan? You start when you're still young, where you've been taught the right way to say, if they're playing this formation, this is how we beat them. This is what we can do to actually distract the opponents. How do we delay, And then those kids, if they understand those things at the early age, at the age of 15, at the age of 17, it becomes easier for them to actually be able to play for the first team, to be able to compete, to be able to get to the first team at the early age. But the problem is, are we teaching those kids enough? We can't just say first team coaches, they are not giving these kids the opportunity. It also has something to do with the education that the kids are getting from the age of 5, from the age of 8, from the age of 11, 13 and 15. If the education is good at that age, it gives those kids the opportunity to actually be exposed to the first team level, because the education was good enough from the grassroots level.
Last one, Coach. These trips are very expensive. They don't come cheap. Obviously, looking at the socio-economic conditions of our country, there's always that perception that elite academies tend to exclude the kids from rural areas and townships who are unable to afford such trips. What is Supersport schools doing about that?
The nice thing about our soccer organization is that we're not only specifically looking for kids that can afford to pay for trips. Since I've been part of this and I've been through 3 trips with Supersport United Soccer School and Supersport Academy, there's a lot of kids that we sponsor within our own organization. If you look at that under 9 today, we've got 2 kids that we sponsored, that we as the organization from the head office, we stand together and say, this is the talent and we have to look after the talent. It's not just about the kids that are actually can afford to go for the trip. We also give the opportunity to the kids that are doing well, that are committed to their sessions, that are showing a lot of improvement. We help them out to actually be part of the team by making sure that we go out there and find sponsors with the help of the parents from our soccer schools, with the help of the parents from the business people. We always expose those kids to say, this is the opportunities. Even the coaches, we give the coach the same opportunity. We've got Coach Apiwe that is a young coach, young promising coach, young hardworking coach. We had to go out there and fight the fight to say, we cannot afford to miss this trip. With the job that has been putting in the development space, and the job that has been putting in the soccer school space, he deserves the opportunity to actually see what's happening. So it's not only about the kids that can afford to pay. It's about kids that are doing well within the system, and kids that are showing a lot of commitment in our system, and kids that are actually improving and showing good, attributes of the game. So those are the people that we actually give the opportunities to, not only kids that can afford.
Coach Mike, thank you very much. We'll be back here when the kids come back just to gather how was the trip and their experience. Thank you very much, my brother.
Thank you very much for your time.